Now, my YouTube channel and Learn Jazz Standards, the brand, is really not at all just for guitar players, but since I am a guitar player myself, I thought it's about time that I do a video just for the guitar players out there. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over the basic jazz guitar voicings you need to know to get started playing jazz and to really start sounding good right away. That's coming right up. What's up, Brent here from LearnJazzStandards.com, which is a blog, a podcast, and videos all geared towards helping you become a better jazz musician. Make sure you subscribe at the button below, hit the bell notification button so you never miss out on anything going on here. Like I said, my channel is not at all just for guitar players. It's really for all instruments. However, I do find that the guitar players could use some voicings to get started, and a lot of you are wondering, how do I get into jazz? How can I get started learning jazz standards and all this good stuff? Well, it does start with knowing some basic guitar voicings, and that could be really helpful. So I'm going to be going over guitar voicings for all 5 qualities of 7th chords, which is major 7th, dominant 7th, minor 7th, half diminished, and fully diminished. And I'm going to be going over voicings that start with the root on the low E string, on the A string, and on the D string, so that you have 3 choices per quality of chord to start working with. All right, so let's jump right to it. Let's start with major 7th chords. So here's a great voicing to start out with for starting on the E string as the root. So I'm going to be playing a G major 7th. This is G, the root right here. And it's played like this. This A string, you're basically ignoring, muting with your first finger there. And this is a really basic major 7th voicing you just absolutely have to know. So now let's move on to a voicing that starts on the A string here, and for this we're going to keep in the general vicinity of the neck that we're in right now, so we're going to just go straight on over to the root, which is C. This is the C, so we're going to be playing a C major 9. Now I'm playing a C major 9 instead of a major 7th because oftentimes in jazz we like to add other colors to our voicings, and adding the 9th is a great extension to do, and you can still have the 7th in there, but we're replacing the 5th, which is not a strong chord tone. So a really great voicing for this would be, and you're just playing these inner 4 strings, A, D, G, and B. Okay, so this is C major 9, but also that substitutes just fine for a C major 7th. So let's move on to a voicing that starts on the D string now. Again, I want to keep in the same vicinity of the neck here just for demonstration purposes. So we're going to go ahead and do an F major 7th chord. So the root starts here. This is an F note, and if you want, you can just do the octave down so you can see that clear. The F note starts right here. That's the root, and the voicing looks like this. The easiest way is to bar with the 3rd finger right here to get that voicing. So you have major 7th voicings or major 9 voicings on all 3 sets of strings, E, A, and D. So we have the G major 7th here, we have the C major 7th here, and we have the F major 7th here. Now these are what we call movable voicings, so if you wanted to play a G major 7 but starting on the D, you can play it up here, right? If we want to play a C major 7th, we can go ahead and play it up here. So as long as you know where all the roots are on your guitar fretboard, you should be good to go moving around any of these voicings. All right, let's move on to the next quality of chords, which is dominant 7th chords. Now the cool thing about this is we're going to be using the same voicings, and all we're going to be doing is changing one note, because a dominant 7th chord, the only difference between a major 7th and a dominant 7th is there's a flat 7 in the chord. So you'll see how this works. So the dominant 7th chord, starting on the E, looks like this. Now if you go back to the major 7th, you see the only note that's really changing is this one, right? Okay, so that's the one rooted on the E. So let's move on to a C9, right? We did a C major 7th before, and then we're just going to be taking the 7th right here and flatting it. And so now you have your C9 chord. Okay, so that's your C9 voicing. All right, so again, starting on the D string now, we're going to play an F dominant 7th. So that was the major 7th, and we're just going to be flatting the 7th right there. And now you have this voicing. So this is an F7 chord. So again, a G7 rooted on the E, a C9 rooted on the A string, and an F7 chord rooted on the D string. All right, let's move on to the next quality of chords, which is minor seventh chords. Now again, the cool thing about this progression here is we're only going to be changing one note from these chord voicings that I've showed you so far. And the difference between a dominant seventh chord and a minor seventh chord is a flat 3. So that's all we're going to be doing. So starting with our G, right? This is our G seventh chord. So we're going to be flatting this one note here. That's the third. And now we have a G minor seventh. Now the easiest way to do this is to bar your third finger starting from the D string all the way down. That way you get all the notes. You can, make the voicing smaller by just using these 3 fingers, but keep in mind that this note is muted. The A string is muted. Okay, so let's move on to our C minor 9. So again, this was our C dominant seventh chord, but the third is right here, and we're just gonna flat it. So now we have a C minor 9 chord, okay? So now let's move on to our F minor seventh. So we start here on the D string, this is the F. This was our F dominant seventh chord. So now all we're gonna do is take this note and flat it. So now we have this voicing here. So this here is an F minor seventh chord. So again, we have G minor 7 rooted on the E, we have C minor 7 rooted on the A, and we have F minor 7 rooted on the D. All right, let's go to the next quality of chords, which is the half diminished, or better known sometimes as the minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so we'll start with our G minor 7th here, so rooted on the E string. Now the difference between a minor 7th and a minor 7 flat 5 is the flat 5, as it sounds, right? So we're gonna just take this note and flat it, and now we have a minor 7 flat 5 chord, okay? So this is a half diminished chord. Okay, so that's a G minor 7 flat 5, all right? Then we're gonna go ahead and change up the voicing a little bit here, because this is a common voicing for a half diminished rooted on the A. So we're gonna kind of abandon the minor 9 situation here and all of that. So what we're gonna do is play this voicing, kind of a little crunchy voicing. This is probably the most common voicing for a minor 7 flat 5 rooted on the A. Okay, so that's a C minor 7 flat 5. All right, now with this voicing, with the F minor 7 flat 5, it actually works pretty well. So this was our minor 7th voicing. Now we're just gonna flat the 5 here, and now we have an F minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so G minor 7 flat 5, C minor 7 flat 5, and F minor 7 flat 5. Okay, we're down to just one more quality of 7th chord here, and that is the fully diminished 7th chord. So if we take our voicing here for the G minor 7 flat 5, all we need to do is flat the 7 again to make it a double flat 7. That would be this note going down to here. So now you have a G diminished 7th. You can also bar it like this with your first finger if that's easier for you, or you can play it the way I have right now. Okay, so now let's take this C half diminished and make it fully diminished. And again, the way to do that is to double flat the 7. So that was the 7th right here, the flat 7, double flat is right here. Now you have a C diminished 7. Last but not least, we had our F half diminished right here. And all we're gonna do is flat that 7. So what do? We take that flat 7 and double flat it, and we have an F diminished 7th. So those are the basic voicings that you really should know to start getting playing jazz on your guitar. So I would encourage you to really study these, investigate these, be able to play them on any part of your fretboard. If you like, I also have a post that I'll link in the description called 20 Basic Chords for Jazz Guitar. It has even more than I just showed you just now. Will help you get started, so check that out in the link below. Now, kind of the next place you would want to go is to start actually applying some of these chords to jazz standards. And a great jazz standard to start with is Autumn Leaves. So I'd suggest that you check Autumn Leaves out, because it really puts some of these to the test. But you'll have to know how to actually learn jazz standards by ear in the first place. So for that, please do check out this video. It's called The List Process for Learning Jazz Standards by Ear. I would highly suggest you check that one out next. It will get you headed in the right direction. All right, that's all for today's video. I want to thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.